Hey everybody, this is Tariq. It's been a while since I've gone on here and spoken to you or shared anything about what's going on with my life. Over the last year, I have opened up my own studio called BearBones here in Dubai, Production City. And it's been a whirlwind year. It's been a lot going on. Actually, if you asked me about 13 months ago, I would have no idea that this would be a real thing happening in my life, something that I would be able to accomplish. But here we are. Before I opened this place, I started working on recording myself. I wanted to kind of put myself out there and get comfortable behind a camera, get comfortable recording my voice. It wasn't easy, and I couldn't stay consistent with it. And I think largely, not only because it was a little bit uncomfortable, but I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to share and how I wanted to share it. But over the last few months, as I'm here in this space and I've become more and more comfortable, maybe with myself, I've started to formulate a vision of what I would like some type of podcast or show or whatever it may be called these days. But basically just the type of information that I do want to share that I think would be helpful not only to you to hear, but also helpful to me, to get on here and formulate, like really create a concrete structure around my thoughts, my beliefs, because the world right now it's full of content and information. We are so rich with being able to receive information from our phone and from here and from our friend who knows so much and our grandmother knows and everybody knows so much, right? And I think that's great. And when I sit here and I say, okay, like, what is it that I actually provide? And like, what is it that is unique about myself? And people like me, it's who have been professionals in the field for a very long time. What are we able to provide? I think it's not just the knowledge and the information, but the context. If you have 100 bits of information, where do they place? Where do they rank? Where are they located on this gigantic web of context? And that's what professionals do, right? They don't just know stuff. They don't just recite stuff from a Wikipedia page, but they truly know the ins and outs. They know about the studies that were done, and maybe where those studies were backed, and where the story of where that study led to, and how, the whole history. And when you've been part of a field for a long time, whether it's interior design or fitness or whatever it is that you do, I'm sure that you can see trends and things come into style, then things go out of style. And some days something is good for you, then the next day it's really, really bad for you. And, if you're just following along day to day, that can be really confusing. And I get that. But if you're in a position like me where I've been around and I've seen this kind of unfolding, but I've also been warned from people who are my mentors, from a very early age, that they were telling me that this is what's going on 40 years before I was in the industry. And they were telling me, hey, this is going to be your career. You are going to see things come and go, and you're going to have to be able to decipher and filter through the noise and reach on and grab on to what really matters at the core. And if you can, and you can do that, and you hold on to that core, that foundation that brought you into this field, then you're strong and you're stable and you're looking around and you're observing what's happening. And I know this sounds a little bit philosophical, but I do get very philosophical about this stuff because I do love it. But I do think that people are so, it's the cliche line of people being so deep into the forest that they don't even see the tree. But if you're strong, you're stable, and you're observing, then you see, oh, that's an oak tree, that's a kitchen, whatever. You know, like, I'm not a tree expert, but you see all the different types of trees, and you see, oh, that's a leaf, or no, oh, now the leaves are changing. And that doesn't mean that leaves are now red. It just means that they are turning red because the tree is no longer providing the chlorophyll to it, because that leaf is not receiving enough sunlight for the tree to be, spending all of its energy on that leaf. It doesn't mean that the leaf is red, but you can kind of see the whole story, instead of just saying, oh, well, we did a study and we see that leaves are red. Well, we did a study in autumn in Vermont, and that leaf is not, oh, it's red. If you go back in 2 months later, that leaf will be gone. Does it mean the leaf never existed? No, the leaf is still a thing. And I know that hopefully I can become a little bit more structured and a little bit less vague. But I hope that you can also understand what I'm trying to get at, because this is honestly actually how I think about these type of things. So I do want to, say I respect and I acknowledge and I admire, and I'm really super happy, excited that we're able to get all the information that we're able to get these days so easily. But I also do see that it's easy to be misled. And in summary, what I plan for this media or information sharing to be is a chance for me to share my voice, my thoughts, the lessons that I've learned over almost 20 years. I started being involved with coaching at some level nearly 20 years ago. So, I imagine that there's something that I've gained along the way that could be useful to you. Whether you are interested in fitness and maybe you're helping other people get into their own journey of discovery in health and fitness or sport, or whether you are someone who's looking to better yourself when it comes to this type of thing. Let me start that over. That's up. So in summary, I hope that this is a chance for me to share my voice, my thoughts, and my experiences. I've started getting into coaching at some level nearly 20 years ago, and this is my life. And I do imagine that there's something that I can share with you, something that I could provide you that you find useful, whether you are a new or young or up and coming trainer or coach. The whole philosophy around coaching, how to connect and communicate with your clients or with your players, is something that I've also, not only studied, but continue to research and admire and have a lot of respect for. So I love talking about how to connect with your players, your coaches, and how to get the best out of them. That's something I do want to spend a lot of time talking about. But maybe you are training yourself and looking for someone else's opinions and thoughts and experiences, maybe to be able to kind of decipher, narrow things down, and put things into the place that they belong. So again, thank you for joining me again. Don't ask me about my hair. I have no idea what's going on with it. I haven't really known what's going on with my hair for the last 5 years. I'll try to make it better next time. But thanks again for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.